Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Aliens Invaded. I, Chef Become the Strongest Human. Chapter 61. The box was opened, and Yi Linfang was startled by the sudden light. Could it be that she had some hallucination just now? Why does the packed lunch box suddenly flash with colorful lights? On the opposite side, Shatangson, who was peeling shrimps leisurely, also stopped and looked into the lunch box. What the hell? Did something flash in front of your eyes just now? It smells so good. Yi Linfang also smelled the aroma at this time and couldn't help but exclaimed, this kid named Zhang Tian actually has such a skill. What state of mind is Yi Linfang? After so many years of life and death experience, what is his state of mind? Even so, she couldn't help but swallow when she smelled the fragrance. It can be seen from this that even she cannot avoid the temptation of the food in this lunch box. From the sidelines, we can draw conclusions about how good Zhang Tian is at cooking. It just smells good, but it doesn't necessarily taste good. Shatangson muttered, just with this look, looking into the lunchbox from time to time. Yi Linfang didn't need to be sneaky, after all, she wasn't the one who was so harsh before. She picked up a piece of braised pig's trotters with her chopsticks and put it into her mouth. The pig's trotters are cut into small pieces and can be wrapped in one bite. Yi Linfang's eyes lit up after eating it. After chewing 2 mouthfuls, he couldn't help but take 2 more mouthfuls of rice. The taste was really amazing when combined. Too delicious. Yi Linfang didn't know how to describe it for a moment. Beside her, Shui Ruyan was just smiling, and she believed her grandma would find out soon. Although the delicious taste is the biggest advantage, the things contained in this dish are not simple. Faced with such delicious food, Yi Linfang didn't show any restraint in front of his family and took another piece. Clatter. As soon as the chopsticks were loosened, the braised pork trotters fell back into the lunch box. This movement made Shui Tan, who was drooling at the smell and had a good reputation, feel a little surprised. He looked at his wife and found that she was staring blankly at the braised pig's trotters in the lunch box, and the shock in her eyes became more intense. Gradually, the shocked expression turned into seriousness, and his expression became serious. She picked up a piece of braised pig's trotters again, put it into her mouth solemnly, and closed her eyes tightly after eating. After a long while, she took a deep breath and said to Shuidenxin, "Old man, you also have a piece." "Ahem, since it's so delicious, you can eat more. I still prefer shrimp." Shatangson coughed twice and shook her head. As soon as the face-saving Shuiden finished speaking, she found Yi Linfang staring at her. Yi Linfang's tone was serious. Snow Tan Heart. As soon as the name came out, Shuidenxin immediately stretched out her chopsticks and put the braised pig's trotters into her mouth. In fact, he was already craving for the braised pig's trotters just now. It's just that I can't save face. After all, I just said I didn't like it before, but then I turned around and just ate it. What kind of words did I say? Oh, it smells so good. After eating a piece, Shatangson couldn't help but admire it. He cannot say anything that goes against his conscience. Although he doesn't like to eat pig's trotters, the braised pig's trotters in front of him is really addictive. Try another piece. It's too small and doesn't have much flavor. Shatangson coughed, picked up another larger piece, and started to nibble on it. After just 2 bites, Shatangson placed the half-eaten pig's trotters in the bowl, and her expression gradually changed. He closed his eyes and thought carefully. A warm current starts from the belly and flows to the limbs. That's blood. Shuidenxin suddenly opened her eyes flashing. How could this be? The ingredients we eat are already specially cultivated top-notch materials. Even so, after eating it, it is just like a little health supplement to satisfy the appetite and reduce the burden of daily consumption on the body. How can this dish can increase blood energy and improve cultivation? Shuiden was really shocked. Only then did he understand why his wife forced him to eat. Normally Yi Linfang would take care of his face and would secretly leave a few pieces for him to try. Now let him taste it immediately. It turned out to be because of this there is a great mystery. Then child, do you know what price you have to pay for the space ring you gave me? Yi Linfang looked at Shui Ruyan at this time. Shui Ruyan nodded and looked down at her phone. She had already communicated with Zhang Tian just now and knew what she could probably reveal. Palace Master Huang from U City is also here. He came over to see classmate Zhang. He saw the space ring and mentioned it. Shui Ruyan explained. Yi Linfang nodded slightly and looked at the insulated lunchbox. He took the initiative to ask you to bring this gift, firstly to thank you, and secondly to speak for you. Shuiden Shin, who was beside her, knew what his wife meant. To put it simply, it was Zhang Tian who was telling the old couple. Shui Ruyan is willing to pay such a high price to give gifts, not because he is stupid, but because he has the ability and is worthy. Don't blame her for asking them to be parents. Not only were the old couple not surprised by this behavior and such careful thinking, they were actually very satisfied. Could it be that he has awakened a rare profession, a very special one? Shitangsen guessed, but the ingredients must be of a very high grade. Yi Linfang also nodded. But we have also eaten the top-notch Black Emperor pig and Snowflake pig, so it won't have such terrible effects. After saying that, Yi Linfang took another piece and put it into his mouth, savored it carefully and swallowed it, and then felt the blood surging throughout his body. The effect is incredible. At this time, Shui Ruyan revealed the answer to the mystery. The raw material for this braised pig's trotters is the Red Pig clan brought by Palace Master Huang. Bang! The chopsticks fell to the ground, and these words were like an earth-shattering message, exploding in the minds of the two old men. They all stared at their granddaughter Shui Ruyan, their eyes wide open in disbelief. After a long time, Shitangsen couldn't help but said, "Where's the poison?" "The food prepared by classmate Zhang is not poisonous," Shui Ruyan said with a little pride in her tone. "Incredible, what kind of talent is this?" Yi Linfang thought it was too incredible, so, isn't this a natural chef? After saying that, Yi Linfang fiercely took the pig's trotters into his mouth. "Then I have to eat more. The Red Pig clan has killed many of us humans. The Red Realm lineage is the mortal enemy of our human race. I used to say that I wanted to eat its flesh and drink its blood, but I didn't expect that I could actually do it today." Good. When Yi Linfang said this, Shuiden Shin also showed a ruthless look on his face as he ate the braised pig's trotters in the bowl. For those of the older generation who had fought on the battlefield, their hatred was even more unforgettable. Shui Ruyan watched the two elders eating happily from the side, and took out her mobile phone to send a message to Zhang Tian. Grandpa and Grandma were full of praises, and they were even more happy after knowing that it was the meat of the Red Pig clan. Close black lens bracket. Soon, the message came back. "Zhang Tian, I will make something else delicious next time and give it to the two old heroes to try." Close black lens bracket. Just as the two were exchanging messages, Shuiden Shin suddenly said, "This child has such a special talent and must be protected." Yi Linfang also nodded lightly. "Xiao Ruyan, when the time comes for the martial arts college entrance examination, I will take care of you a little bit." Shui Ruyan immediately raised her head, looked at the two elders, and blinked. She, taking care of Zhang Tian. When it came time to take the martial arts college entrance examination, Zhang Tianzhao was still pretty good at brushing her. How could I have the qualifications and strength to take care of classmate Zhang? What kind of strength does this Red Pig tribe we eat belong to? Shuiden asked her granddaughter curiously. Shui Ruyan replied, "Level 2. It's only level 2, but its nutritional value is so high. The blood and temperature flowing out are mild and can easily penetrate into the body. If you eat more, you can still accumulate it in your body and slowly refine it. It's incredible, it's simply amazing." Shuiden kept chanting in her heart, admiring her greatly. Yi Linfang nodded. Actually, after killing the aliens, their corpses are the most useless. The refined blood pills are erysipelas and consume too much. A level 2 blood energy pill requires hundreds of level 2 red pigs to refine it, and the blood energy it contains is less than 1% of this bowl. If it weren't for the purpose of utilizing waste and venting anger, the alchemist would never use such thankless materials. Speaking of this place, Yi Linfang took another vicious bite. The Red Pig clan looks honest on the surface, but is actually very vicious. Not only can this tribe eat people, but when the Space Gate first came, the Red Pig tribe liked to capture human children as food. Extremely cruel. Now that they can eat their meat happily, the two old men feel very happy. However, although this child's talent does not need to be deliberately hidden, it is better not to expose it too early to avoid unnecessary trouble. Shitangsen spoke and warned Shui Ruyan. Yi Linfang on the side also nodded. "Yes, please give us a message." If there are some rats who want to use some crooked means, tell us our names. Although Grandpa and Grandma are old, their old faces are still useful and can cover this child. Shui Ruyan nodded lightly. She had known for a long time that her grandfather and grandma would definitely do this. At the same time, Yi Linfang reacted. It seems like you were disappointed before the awakening assessment, but not long after you told us that you successfully exceeded 100 points. The occupation for the awakening assessment is a qi refiner, and the blood qi is full and there is no loss at all. On the contrary, it is over-replenished. Obviously these are all due to you as the savior. Shui Ruyan nodded lightly. Thanks to classmate Zhang, I will be able to fully recover tonight, and I can go to the blood source room again tomorrow, and I can feel that my tempering level is close to about 5%. Quote. The two old men looked at each other, obviously surprised by Shui Ruyan's progress. My granddaughter is very talented, but it is a pity that there is a big gap between her and the first-tier geniuses. For example, the eldest granddaughter, who has been fighting on the battlefield with her son-in-law, thinks that she didn't just break 100 points before she awakened and took the assessment. Even before awakening, her health value was as high as 132, which swept her peers of that generation. However, when their daughter's incident happened, Shui Ruyan was still young, had troubles with her father, and was too obsessed. The old couple is very worried about this issue. If the obsession is not eliminated, the situation will definitely get worse in the future. But if you want to eliminate your inner demons, you must complete your obsession. More than her terrifyingly talented sister, more than her amazing father. Too difficult, but I don't know why. After eating this dish, my granddaughter is obviously in a better state of mind. The old couple had an intuition. Will their granddaughter's problem be solved because of this child named Zhang Tian? The two old men suddenly felt a little expectant in their hearts. After Shui Tangxin and Yi Linfang finished eating, they tidied up a little and took Shui Ruyan to the practice room in the house. The two of them were trying to give Shui Ruyan some guidance alone. She had eaten a lot today. With the help of special training from her grandparents, Shui Ruyan continued to digest the blood and energy in her body, tempered her body, and her progress was very obvious. After the special training, Shui Ruyan put on her pajamas and lay on the bed. After picking up her phone, she found a message from Zhang Tian. Zhang Tian, is braised food acceptable? I'm worried that the braised pig's trotters will taste too simple and I'll get tired of it. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan, no problem, are there enough materials? Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, it doesn't matter. Uncle Huang will take advantage of his vacation to kill more red pigs and get them here. Your space ring has been a big help. Close black lens bracket. There is no concept of time in the space ring, which can perfectly prevent food from spoiling. Huang Wei only needs to bring the killed red pig clan over with his own space ring and hand over it to Zhang Tian. Shui Ruyan, Palace Master Huang calls you junior brother, but you call him uncle. It's too confusing. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, everyone talks about it separately, don't worry about these details. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan, when making braised meat, try adding flame fruit. Don't grind it into powder. Just crush it with a knife and add oil. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, fortunately, I still have the intact fruit I brought back. I'll try it later. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan, I will taste it tomorrow, looking forward to it. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, see you tomorrow. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan, well, see you tomorrow. Close black lens bracket. After finishing the conversation, Shui Ruyan sat up cross-legged, used the introductory method to adjust her state, and then lay down to sleep. The next day, after Shui Ruyan said goodbye to her grandparents early, just like last time, she asked Aunt Wan to drive to pick up Zhang Tian and rush to the number 1 training hall in Shaanxi. Arriving at the training hall, the two found the staff to register and open the blood source room. You're going in just 1 day later. The staff member frowned after registering to open the door, although this time the martial arts college entrance examination is reorganized and time is very tight, don't be too anxious or hurt your body. At that point, it will do more harm than good to test scores. Shui Ruyan thanked the staff for their kind reminder, explained that their bodies had recovered, and then walked into the blood source room. Watching the heavy metal door slowly closing, the staff member was a little surprised. He actually recovered within the next day. Could it be that these two people's talents are recovery related? He then shook his head and left the door. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't have much to do with him. Entering the blood source room, the familiar high pressure of spiritual energy gradually began to emerge. Shui Ruyan was still struggling to adapt to hard resistance, but compared to the first time, it was obviously easier. Boom! At this time, Zhang Tian's body suddenly roared, the blood abyss furnace was operating, and the high-pressure spiritual energy was immediately absorbed into his body to temper his body. Shui Ruyan, who was still struggling to resist, suddenly felt relaxed. But she suddenly relaxed and got closer to Zhang Tian. Shui Ruyan stumbled and fell towards Zhang Tian. With a snap, Shui Ruyan bumped into Zhang Tian and was hugged by the other party. Shui Ruyan, who accidentally bumped into Zhang Tian's arms, raised her head and looked at each other. The two looked at each other. The sudden little accident changed the atmosphere in the room, as if pink bubbles were popping up. Both of their faces were slightly red, but Zhang Tian was the first to break the silence. Are you okay? Ahem, it's a small problem, how can it be anything? Shui Ruyan left Zhang Tian's arms and coughed twice to ease the embarrassment. Let's practice. Zhang Tian also nodded slightly and began to take things out of the space ring. In a short time, tables, chairs, pots, pans, etc. were all neatly arranged. I'm in a hurry this morning, let's eat something first to cushion our stomach. Zhang Tian was sorting out the food in front of him and said hello to Shui Ruyan in front of him. Shui Ruyan looked at this scene with a slightly strange expression. After all, eating comfortably in the blood source room is something that no one else has ever thought about. But because of Zhang Tian in front of him, this dreamlike thing came true. However, during the meal, Shui Ruyan discovered that such daily actions also had to resist the stimulation brought by high-pressure spiritual energy. It's true that you can cultivate even while eating. On the table, there are naturally new dishes prepared by Zhang Tian. Braised pork. Moreover, the braised pork was minced and cooked, and the crushed flame fruits inside were clearly visible. Pour the braised pork with the soup on the rice. Just the aroma brought by the steaming heat will make people want it. Shui Ruyan took a sip, and her eyes sparkled with light. After the rice grains are mixed with the marinade, the taste is simply amazing. When chewing, the soft and waxy texture of the rice itself and the fat of the marinade are a golden combination. Not to mention the unique spicy taste of the flame fruit, slowly emerging. It was like a fire was lit in the mouth, slowly becoming hot. Although it was very delicious, Shui Ruyan ate it very carefully and slowly, feeling it carefully. She knew how much she had helped Zhang Tian, and the best thing now was to help him find ways to improve the dishes. Helping others also helps yourself. When the dishes are perfect and reach luminous quality, their help in spiritual practice will reach its peak. Shui Ruyan said as she tasted it. The direction of not drowning the flame fruit, but crushing it and adding it should be correct, but I'm afraid we have to think about the processing together. It's also best to chop it into pieces and eat it with rice, but doing so seems to make the fat level too high. Zhang Tian also listened carefully while eating here and remembered it in his mind so that he could think about it more and try it more when he went back. Not long after, in such a harmonious atmosphere, the two of them had enough to eat and drink, and continued to practice. This time with experience, Shui Ruyan's practice became more convenient and the effect became more obvious. Zhang Tian's was holding his mobile phone, watching some videos of chefs teaching, and making gestures with his hands from time to time. Even if the high-pressure spiritual energy he inhaled at this moment made his whole body miserable, he still couldn't distract Zhang Tian. His love for cooking made him seem to forget the pain. This time, the two stayed in the blood source room for a full hour and 47 minutes. Finally, Shui Ruyan reached the critical point. If she continued to stay, she might cause excessive damage to her body and the recovery time would be greatly extended. The two left the blood source room and took Aunt Wan's car to Zhang Tian's home. Next, it was Zhang Tian's turn to practice his cooking skills. The two of them stayed in the kitchen all the time. Zhang Tian cooked the food, and Shui Ruyan tasted it and helped make adjustments and improvements. The two of them have become more and more understanding as they work together. Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng also observed secretly. When they had dinner together later, their attitude towards Shui Ruyan was even more enthusiastic. After Shui Ruyan finally left, Zhang Tian also prepared a new dish and asked her to take it back for her grandpa and grandma to try. Both old men promised to personally guarantee him to prevent him from being targeted by interested people and any accidents. It makes sense to bring a dish in return. In fact, Zhang Tian was happiest when the two old men praised the taste of his dishes. For a cook, there is nothing more satisfying than being praised by others for the delicious food and the CD. The following days were so simple and unpretentious. Huang Wei visited Zhang Tian's home again, prepared enough ingredients for him, and then returned to his work. The martial arts college entrance examination is a top priority for the Tang state. Especially this time, the martial arts reform also caused a huge sensation in the Tang dynasty. The battlefield combat test is the key word of this martial arts college entrance examination. Of course, this time the martial arts college entrance examination is not a one-way road to death. This time the martial arts college entrance examination is divided into two methods, the battlefield examination and the practice examination. If you choose a practice exam, although there is a death indicator, safety is greatly guaranteed, and it is no different from the previous martial arts college entrance examination. For the battlefield exam, naturally, you go directly to each battlefield test center to take the exam. But, if you choose different examination methods, the results and treatment will be completely different. The specific circumstances of the difference between the two are very simple. The ranking of candidates for all practice exams can only start from the last place among the candidates for the battlefield exam. Even if you come first in the practice exam, no matter how good your performance is and how high your score is. When applying for martial arts university, your ranking can only be ranked behind the last one in the practical examination. This shows an attitude. Students who choose to take the battlefield exam have the courage to face alien races on the battlefield. At this time, they are not exam candidates, but warriors fighting for the entire human race. The hero of the human race. In this case, you should enjoy great privileges. Choose safety, choose stability, and hide in the back, then when ranking, you have to stay in the back. It can be said that the entire Tang dynasty was in an uproar. Faced with such a reform of the martial arts college entrance examination, some people agreed and some opposed it. But the majority actually agree, especially if someone in the family has been on the battlefield. They know very well that even a battlefield exam is very risky. But after all, it is the martial arts college entrance examination. Compared with fighting on the real battlefield, it is still relatively safer. This in itself is a perfect opportunity for experience, and of course you must seize it. As for the risk of death, the human race is still in danger now, surrounded by powerful enemies. One mistake could lead to the extinction of the human race. Under such circumstances, talk about this. Those who are afraid of life and death are complaining, but many people have already begun to take action. Some schools organize drills, allowing students to apply, and teachers will lead a team to conduct drills in a safer world behind the time and space gate. There are also people with better family conditions who will ask for protection and go to some dangerous worlds behind the time and space gate to hone their skills. Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan did not choose to go to the world of the time and space gate, their plans were well arranged. Every other day, he went to the blood source room to practice. After returning, Zhang Tian studied cooking skills, and Shui Ruyan went through a special training with the help of his grandfather and grandmother. Before I knew it, there was only one day left before the martial arts college entrance examination. As soon as Shui Ruyan returned home, she saw her grandfather rushing over impatiently. "Where are the pig's trotters? Where are the pig's trotters?" Looking at her grandfather's appearance, Shui Ruyan couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. Some people used to say they would never eat pig's trotters, but now they can't stop reading without eating. Yi Linfang's teasing voice came from inside the house. This is different. Xiao Zhang made it specially for me. It can't be compared to those pig's trotters outside. Taking the lunch box from Shui Ruyan's hand, Shuiden shook her head happily. Those people outside are not qualified to compare with Xiao Zhang. Looking at her husband like an old boy, Yi Linfang couldn't help but laugh or cry. Shui Ruyan walked to her grandmother and handed the other one to her. Over there, Shuiden Shin sat down impatiently and opened the lunch box. When the lid was opened and exposed, he couldn't help but sigh. This is how it feels. Glowing pig's trotter rice, Grandpa Snow's special version. Yeah, after Shatangson took a bite, she couldn't help but nodded crazily, then picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Zhang Tian. Xiao Zhang, what you made today tastes really amazing. As soon as I took my first bite, I couldn't help but give you a thumbs up. Close black lens bracket. Not long after, a reply came from Zhang Tian on the phone. You can eat it if you like. I have just received the new spices, but they are too expensive. Close black lens bracket. Shuiden Shin. What's so valuable? In the end, I'm not an old man and I'm blessed. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian. I will not let down these precious spices. Eat them slowly. Close black lens bracket. Opposite him, Yi Linfeng seemed much calmer, opening his lunchbox and eating slowly by himself. Shui Ruyan, who sat down next, couldn't laugh or cry when she saw her grandfather chatting happily with Zhang Tian. Ever since they would bring Zhang Tian's dishes every time they came back, Grandpa and Grandma would never forget his dishes. Grandpa Shuiden Shin, in particular, took the initiative to ask for Zhang Tian's contact information from Shui Ruyan, and the old and young gradually became familiar with each other and started chatting. Every time my grandpa found a cooking video, he would immediately send it to Zhang Tian and make some suggestions for him to develop new dishes. In addition, Grandpa often found some precious spices and bought them for Zhang Tian to use. For this loyal diner, Zhang Tian was naturally very energetic. Especially in response to the various demands put forward by Shuiden Shin, Zhang Tian also burst out with a challenging spirit, and his cooking skills became increasingly sophisticated. However, Shui Ruyan still had to be there to protect her. After all, the excitement of discussions between the old and the young always leads to some strange dark dishes. Shuiden Shin and Zhang Tian were chatting happily. Yi Linfeng observed her granddaughter's expression while eating, and then said slowly, Xiao Ruyan, are you still planning to take the exam at Hongwu University in Star City? Based on your current progress, it should be no problem to try the top-ranked Beijing University. Shui Ruyan's face lit up when she heard her grandmother's question, can I get admitted to Beijing University now? Grandma's estimate is not wrong. It should be possible. Your current strength is compared to your sister at that time. Yi Linfeng stopped immediately when she said this. She realized that she had said the wrong thing. However, Shui Ruyan's next attitude was beyond her expectation. Compared to my sister, I'm still far behind, but I'd better forget about going to Beijing University. I'll choose Hongwu University in Star City. Shui Ruyan shook her head slightly and answered her grandmother's question. Yi Linfeng took a closer look at Shui Ruyan and was surprised. The knot in my granddaughter's heart is more of resentment than hatred. Shui Ruyan wanted to surpass her sister, and she had a deep obsession in her heart, but when she mentioned her eldest granddaughter, there was still a trace of frustration in her eyes. This kind of frustration, according to Yi Linfeng's speculation, should be caused by Shui Ruyan's deep sense of powerlessness that she has no hope of surpassing her sister. Shui Ruyan herself also knew how terrible her sister was. But right now, she seemed to not see such an expression in her granddaughter's eyes. Even when he mentioned that he was not as good as his sister, his eyes were very calm, even a little indifferent. Is my little Ruyan so good-natured now? Yi Linfeng was also happy in her heart, which meant that her granddaughter's knot in her heart had been relieved to some extent. Has your character improved? Shui Ruyan glanced at her grandmother, not quite sure what she meant. Seeing that her granddaughter's mentality was stable, Yi Linfeng stopped hiding her words. Now when it comes to your sister, you don't seem so nervous anymore. Shui Ruyan was silent for a while. I want to surpass her, but I feel that she is like a high mountain. I can't see the top when I look up, let alone climb over her, but now. Next, Shui Ruyan stopped talking, and a figure busy in front of the stove appeared in her mind. After seeing how high the sky is, how can you still think that the mountains are high? Thinking of Zhang Tian, Shui Ruyan couldn't help but think of the extra training in the blood source room. She not only withstood the pressure, but also attacked Zhang Tian fiercely. Then, Zhang Tian, who had been looking at information and videos about chefs with his head down, had never touched the other party. Not even once. You know, the other person is the same age as you. If he faced off against a sister of the same age, even though he had no chance of winning, at least it would be okay to inflict serious injuries on the opponent. But Jiang Tian, the difference in feeling during the battle was so great that even the feeling of frustration would not arise. Even Shui Ruyan felt that Jiang Tian would do something terrible in this martial arts college entrance examination. Ever since he knew that this time he would face different alien races on the battlefield of the martial arts college entrance examination, classmate Jiang Tian had already begun to prepare crazily for the battle. It's just that his preparations are different. Jiang Tian's preparation is to search for recipes that can be made after the slaughter of these aliens, and what details of cooking need to be mastered. Also what kind of kitchen utensils need to be prepared, what kind of seasonings, etc. Jiang Tian watched and learned videos of various dishes, and even bought some livestock similar to these alien races for advanced practice. Yes, when others are preparing for the martial arts college entrance examination, it is a practical exercise, inquiring about the fighting talents and precautions of foreign races, as well as small knowledge points on the battlefield. Only Jiang Tian was preparing for the martial arts college entrance examination, and he was preparing in the kitchen. However, this also belongs to classmate Jiang Tian's style. The awakening assessment consisted of eating it from beginning to end, all the way to a small tribe of the Flame Bird clan, and eating everything. Shui Ruyan couldn't help but pity the aliens who were taking the exam this time. They were so unlucky to meet such a living king of hell like Jiang Tian. Xiao Ruyan, what are you thinking about? Next to her, Yi Linfang saw her granddaughter fell silent mid-sentence and fell into deep thought. She couldn't recover for a long time and couldn't help but interrupt. Shui Ruyan then raised her head and glanced at her grandmother. I just thought that classmate Jiang will be a very powerful and terrifying chef in the future. Your description of this child is really strange. If you say that Xiao Jiang will be a very powerful chef, Grandma, I agree. Yi Linfang couldn't laugh or cry. How can he be called a very scary chef? Shui Ruyan blinked at her grandmother. He is a very scary chef. You will know about it later. Tomorrow is the martial arts college entrance examination. Candidates from other cities around Shaanxi all arrived successfully. For example, candidates from Yuxi No. 14 Middle School stayed in officially designated hotels near the examination center. This facilitates management, as only individual candidates will go alone and will not participate in collective actions. Just like Jiang Tian and Shui Ruyan, they have freedom of choice, as long as they arrive at the examination center on time and take the martial arts college entrance examination. Huang Xing and the others are here, right? At the dinner table, Jiang Tian's family of 3 was eating, and Zhang Yuan asked, looking at his son. As Jiang Tian's best friend, Huang Xing often comes to play with him, and his parents are also familiar with him. Jiang Tian nodded. They arrived yesterday, but they have chosen the collective action arranged by the school in advance. They cannot leave the team without permission. We will see you tomorrow. There are rules for freedom of choice. You can either stay away from the team and handle exam preparation matters on your own, or you can follow the school's arrangements and follow the team. Otherwise, you would follow the school team one moment, and then run away on your own. What would you say? This time the martial arts college entrance examination is restructured. You have to be careful when going to the battlefield. Lu Fang grabbed her son's hand with worry on her face. Mom can't help much, she can only nag a few words. Zhang Yuan nodded. Achievements are secondary, life is the most important. If life is gone, there will be nothing. Jiang Tian nodded, indicating that he had listened. Don't worry, your son is very strong. If the teacher hadn't told him, I would have won the top prize in the country to make you look good. Zhang Yuan and Lu Fang looked at each other when they heard their son's words. Jiang Tian's teachers had visited him and told him some things. They knew that his son was actually pretty good, and he was not at the bottom like his school grades. This time, U City ranks first in the awakening assessment. Son, how good are you? Why do you seem to take the number 1 ranking in the country so casually? Zhang Yuan asked curiously, his voice lowering involuntarily when he spoke. Jiang Tian answered seriously. I'm not kidding, to be honest, among this batch of national candidates, my strength is invincible. Lu Fang gently patted the back of her son's hand. Don't talk big. There are people outside the world, and there are mountains outside the mountains. You can't have such a proud and complacent mentality. You must pay attention to safety. A mother doesn't care whether her son is invincible or not, the most important thing is that everything is safe. It seems that you know what's going on. Dad's ability is not as good as yours, so he won't talk nonsense and make suggestions. Zhang Yuan patted his son on the shoulder. I wish you all the best in the exam, son. Be sure to pay attention to safety and be careful. Lu Feng was also nagging her son repeatedly. Zhang Tian patted his chest. Don't worry, the teacher came to see me last time and specially prepared a secret inner armor that has not yet been released on the market. It is absolutely safe. Later, he showed this to his parents, and they felt much relieved. After finishing the meal, Zhang Tian stayed in the kitchen and began to count the ingredients he prepared. With the space ring, it is much more convenient to carry things. At least the dishes and chopsticks do not need to be sourced locally. Zhang Tian carefully prepared the things he needed for cooking, while Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng kept checking for news about the restructuring of the martial arts college entrance examination, pondering and discussing with each other. One night passed quickly. The next morning, before dawn, Zhang Tian had already opened his eyes. After washing himself, he put on his inner armor and bracelet and left the house. Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng also woke up early and sent their son out. When he arrived at the door of his house, Zhang Tian saw Aunt Wan driving a car and waiting at the door with Shui Ruyan. After Zhang Tian said goodbye to his parents, he got in the car. Because the number 1 test site where they took the martial arts college entrance examination was far from where they lived, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan had to go out early to avoid delays. As time went by, they gradually approached the test site. Just looking from a distance, Zhang Tian could see thick metal walls connected together, like a metal mountain, blocking the front. In comparison, the base for the awakening assessment is like playing house. Of course, one is a battlefield time and space gate, and the other is a time and space gate that has been conquered. The concepts are completely different. It's no wonder that when the Starry Sky sect took action, they had to choose the location of U City's awakening assessment time and space sect. The two levels were different. After arriving at the drop-off point, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan went to the first security check. At this time, Aunt Wan could not enter. The first security check is just a simple check of the student's registration information. Then Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan came to the second security check, which was reserved for students who came alone to take the martial arts college entrance examination. It was a different entrance from the school-organized team. Compared with the first security check, the second security check is obviously much stricter and requires a lot of information, such as past scores, age, and whether the identity is correct. After the inspection, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan finally entered the locker room and put on the exclusive combat uniforms for this martial arts college entrance examination. He also received his own military medal and wore it around his neck. According to the explanation, the military merit cards are refined and have built-in formations. Not only can people determine your location when sending a distress signal, but it can also record information when killing aliens. The chi of the alien race is different from that of the human race. The military merit card can be sensed and recorded when killing. At this time, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan also walked into the base and saw the internal environment. It seems that for this martial arts college entrance examination, a large open space has been cleared in the base. Looking up, you can see many Star Army soldiers wearing combat uniforms patrolling the thick metal wall. In the huge open square, there are a large number of Star Conquest Army soldiers standing guard, and there are also patrols. In addition, there are examiners wearing badges who are also walking back and forth. From time to time, someone comes to talk to the school's leading teacher, seeming to confirm something. After searching for a while, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan found the location of U City number 14 middle school and approached there. There, various high school candidates from U City also gathered there. When Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan walked over, many people noticed their figures. They whispered to each other and pointed, which attracted a lot of people's attention. After all, the two of them were the first in the U City Awakening joint examination. After the exam, many people were impressed by Zhang Tian's neat and tidy performance. As a result, when Zhang Tian approached, many students from U City turned their heads and looked in the direction of the Bai brothers and sisters of number 1 middle school. When the Bai brothers and sisters saw Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan approaching, their faces were livid and very ugly. Apparently, they were thinking of bad memories. Now that he saw Zhang Tian, Bai Zunren still felt his cheeks burning and his hands clenched involuntarily. Bai Zunli also pursed her lips and stared at Shui Ruyan, her eyes seeming to be spitting out flames. Zhang Tian. Bai Zunren took a deep breath and suddenly shouted loudly. When Zhang Tian heard Bai Zunren's shout, he turned his head and looked over there, recognizing the man who had been slapped away by him. I will definitely beat you in this martial arts college entrance examination. Bai Zunren clenched his fists in front of him and roared angrily. Shui Ruyan, I was wrong about the awakening assessment, but I still refuse to accept you. I will definitely surpass you in this martial arts college entrance examination. Bai Zunli also took a deep breath and issued his own declaration of war. This attitude of the two people surprised both Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan. Especially Bai Zunli actually admitted to Shui Ruyan that she was wrong. Hehehehe, these two brothers and sisters were frustrated at your place and asked their family members to help teach Zhang a lesson. Guess what happened? At this time, Guo Qihong had already come over with a smile. Zhang Tian turned to look at Guo Qihong. What's wrong? Their father hung the two siblings up and whipped them all day long. I could hear the screams at home. Guo Qihong explained happily. It turns out that his family and the Bai family are neighbors, and his father also knows the father of the Bai family siblings and knows some internal situations. The Bai family father called these two siblings stupid because classmate Zhang defeated him with one move and still couldn't recognize the gap between the two sides. He also said that the two brothers and sisters can't compete with each other in terms of their grades. Just try to win next time. Bullying others based on their family has no bottom line. If they don't have a bottom line, they will kill themselves sooner or later. In this case, it's better to let him, the father, beat him to death himself. Perhaps they were awakened by the beating. These two are not completely brainless. They probably have figured out some things. After Zhang Tian listened to Guo Qihong's explanation of the details behind the scenes, he turned to look at the Bai brothers and sisters, who were still staring at him with an angry look. However, unlike before, there was resentment hidden in his anger, and there was some cold air about him. Now, under the anger in the eyes of the two brothers and sisters, they are full of fighting spirit. My mental outlook has completely changed. It's a pity that you can't win this time. Zhang Tian also responded to the Bai brothers and sisters at this time, with a smile on his face. Bai Zunren clenched his fists. The test results will be revealed. Zhang Tian also smiled and said no more. He had a good father. Da da da. At this time, the sound of slightly neat footsteps suddenly came, attracting many students from U City. They turned their heads and looked in the direction where the sound came from, all showing surprise. It was also a group of students wearing combat uniforms for the martial arts college entrance examination. They formed a neat formation, and just the momentum of coming over made them a lot farther away from the students in U City. The momentum is suppressed, especially at the front of the team. There is a boy with a buzz cut, taking the lead with a stern expression. Some students in front of him were frightened and moved aside just by meeting each other's eyes. Through the school badge, they also know the identities of these students. A student of Shaanxi High School, one of the 4 major high schools in Shaanxi, the provincial capital. The leader should be the undisputed overlord of this class of Shaanxi High School, Leng Hao. At this time, Huang Xing, who was standing on the other side of Zhang Tian, turned on his phone and muttered, I heard that the health value exceeded 100 before awakening, and up to 109 points. 109 points, isn't it almost breaking 110? A student nearby couldn't help but said. Of course, there are also those that reach 110 points. Guo Qihong pouted towards the other side, gesturing for everyone to look over. Over there, students from Shaanxi High School were equally impressive, walking forward almost parallel to each other. Mingli Middle School, one of the 4 major high schools, and the leading girl with a high ponytail is Yuan Liwan, the genius who Guo Qihong said had a health value of 110 points before awakening. The other 4 colleges and universities are no less generous. For example, Dangjun from Shaanxi No. 1 Middle School is also a monster with a health value of 108 before awakening. There is also Gan Tian who studied in Jun High School. Although his health value before awakening was only 106, he is extremely talented and has terrifying physical fitness. Even though he is fat, he would not dare to do anything during normal school competitions. I heard that one slap can kill someone. Huang Xing and Guo Qihong talked to each other and named the leading figures in the provincial capital and city. Almost no one can deny that these four people are the candidates and the most powerful competitors for the top spot in the Southern Province Martial Arts College entrance examination this time. After hearing this information, many students in U City shook their heads with emotion. Comparing people to each other makes people angry. They couldn't even break 100, but as a result, everyone was so strong. Moreover, the health value is still so high. You must know that after breaking through 100, it will be more difficult every time you improve it. After Shui Ruyan heard this, she didn't feel too much trouble in her heart. Their blood value was indeed powerful, but compared with her sister, it was still far behind. But, she turned to look at Zhang Tian curiously. Speaking of which, she didn't know what Zhang Tian's health value was before he awakened. At least Shui Ruyan can be sure that she must be taller than her sister. But out of curiosity, she didn't ask. Since Zhang Tian's terrifying strength must be kept secret, his health value must be amazing and it is also a big secret. By asking himself, he was making things difficult for Zhang Tian, telling himself that it would be bad if he didn't tell himself. Will there be 200 points? Shui Ruyan thought to herself, watching Zhang Tianzhang discussing new equipment with Huang Xing and Guo Qihong. The new equipment they discussed was a specially made bone-cutting knife. Guo Qihong helped get this thing. Originally, Zhang Tian planned to spend 1 million Tang Guo coins to customize it at the previous store. As it turned out, that store itself belonged to the lower reaches of the Guo family's industry. After Guo Qihong found out about it, he took over it. The budget skyrocketed to 6 million Tang national coins. Or cost price. The bone-cutting knife is like a short-handled handheld axe. It looks very intimidating, and because it is specially refined and used for cutting bones, it is particularly heavy. Guo Qihong couldn't carry it alone, he had to burst out of energy, and Huang Xing helped move it all the way. As a result, the two of them watched the extremely heavy bone-cutting knife come into Zhang Tian's hands, as easily as holding a toy, and the wind whistled as the knife danced. Guo Qihong couldn't help but swallowed his saliva and began to fall into deep thought. Can the leaders of the four major universities do this? Boom! A dull sound suddenly sounded, and the two security gates behind the base slammed together. Outside, there are still some students who have not come in. But unfortunately, when the door is closed, it also means that they lose the qualifications for the martial arts college entrance examination. The loudspeakers in the square played the sounds of late-coming candidates outside the gate crying and shouting. If you take the test again next year, the situation will be completely different. The weight of re-students is very low, and it is twice as difficult to get into a good university. It can be said that the isolation of the base gate has caused a turning point in their lives. On the battlefield, when the action is executed according to the plan, if it is delayed for 1 second, the action may fail. 1 minute late, and countless comrades may die innocently. And they were a full 20 minutes late. I would also like to congratulate everyone who was on time. You have lost 1,578 competitors outside the door. Ahead, a tall sky rises slowly. Standing above is the examination team from test point number 1, and the person who spoke was the leader of the examination team. Shui Xiao, who was standing on the stage, paused after speaking and glanced at the entire audience. She soon saw her niece Shui Ruyan and Zhang Tian beside her. Shui Xiao was confused and felt something was not right. Why do the students in U City seem to prefer to stand behind their niece and her group? In fact, when students from the 4 major high schools in Shaanxi gathered together, they were so powerful that they would form an invisible sense of oppression and crush the surroundings. As a result, other students around the 4 major universities will instinctively stay away and try to get closer to the strong people in their schools, so that they will feel more comfortable. This is the aura. Is it possible that my niece has made such obvious progress? Shui Xiao's thoughts quickly came back and she looked at these students solemnly. You should be familiar with the restructuring of this martial arts college entrance examination. Shui Xiao said, pointing to the back. Test point number 1 is the number 7 second level space-time gate behind us. Behind is the starry sky road that connects to the Red Realm. It is also a small world under the Red Realm, the Wotang Small World. Although our human race has taken control of the Wotang Small World, it has not yet been completely conquered. It is still a battlefield for contention. Winning the little world of Fire Soup also means that we have taken down a starry sky road. This is something that the aliens in the Red Realm cannot accept, and it is also something that the little world of Fire Soup must resist. And the content of your martial arts college entrance examination is to earn military merit in the small world of Wotang. Military merit will represent your results this time, and you will also be able to exchange for merit points after completing the exam. You can choose to join the large army or regular army of Wotang Small World and obey the management arrangements. You can also choose to participate in logistics construction and use your own characteristics and expertise. People with high skills are bold and confident enough in their own strength. They can choose to move freely and hunt foreigners. After Shui Xiao finished speaking, many students became excited and began to whisper. Suddenly, the scene became noisy. Quiet. Shui Xiao frowned, glared, and suddenly shouted loudly. The blood-soaked shout instantly shocked the entire audience, making all the students feel chest tightness and shortness of breath. Even the 4 leaders from the 4 major universities looked slightly pale, pursed their lips and took deep breaths. Uncomfortable. This is the pressure from Shui Xiao. Auntie is really. Shui Ruyan was also very uncomfortable. She quietly glanced at Zhang Tian and found that he was standing there as if nothing happened, looking around curiously. Classmate Zhang, pretend. Seeing this, Shui Ruyan whispered. What is your aunt's strength? He serves as the leader of the examination team at the Martial Arts College Entrance Examination Center in a provincial capital, and is responsible for the security of the team stationed there. The fighting power is tyrannical, and he can be called the overlord of one party. Zhang Tian could handle her pressure without any problems. Such a performance was outrageous. Zhang Tian finally realized what he was doing. He hurriedly bent over on purpose, trembling all over and coughing violently. Shui Xiaona didn't notice, but Huang Wei beside her kept looking at Zhang Tian silently. Seeing Zhang Tian's belated performance, Huang Hui's head was full of black lines. It's too clumsy and fake, little junior brother. And Shui Xiao continued to speak after the environment calmed down. There is competition in the martial arts college entrance examination, which is a good thing to promote the progress of the human race, but it does not mean that you can frame your colleagues and do evil things on the battlefield. The military medals you wear will record this situation. Take another 30 minutes of rest and pass through the time and space gate in order from strongest to weakest according to the comprehensive ranking of your respective high schools. The duration of this martial arts college entrance examination is 15 days in total. If you don't return after the time is up, 30% will be deducted from the military merit settlement. Do you hear me clearly? As Shui Xiao finished speaking, many students shouted in unison in the cleared space. Clear. Shui Xiao waved. Get ready for the exam. After finishing speaking, Shui Xiao took the lead in walking towards the back with the people in the examination group. They have to go through the time and space gate first and get there in advance. After the members of their examination team passed by, the examiners took the students through the time and space gate. The first ones to enter were naturally the 4 major universities in Shaanxi, but Zhang Tian and the others were far behind in the rankings and were still where they were. Old Zhang, what are you going to do? While waiting, Huang Xing asked Zhang Tian. Zhang Tian replied, I choose to act freely. It's too dangerous to move freely. Guo Qihong said from the side, if you follow the regular army, although there are many rules and the upper limit of performance may not be high, at least it will be much safer. First of all, we will have veterans to guide us, and we can avoid many detours. Huang Xing also nodded. Before coming here, my father also suggested that I follow the regular army and learn something in advance. I have my own things to do. If I follow the regular army, my performance may be restricted. Zhang Tian shook his head and looked forward. Over there, the standing space-time gate is obviously much larger. It was like a tall tower. Within the stable frame made of metal, the twisted vortex seemed like the ever-changing starlight. Doing your own thing. Huang Xing and Guo Qihong looked at each other. They didn't understand why Zhang Tian had to swallow when he looked at the space-time door after finishing speaking. Doesn't the space-time gate look delicious? People who come from a small town still want to move freely. At this time, sneers came from the side. Everyone turned to look over and saw that they were students from Shaanxi High School in the provincial capital. They were led by the examiner to go through the space-time gate first. As they passed by, they must have heard people discussing. I would like to advise you, don't choose to act freely if you don't have the strength. It is no different from seeking death, the high school student said while shaking his head. That's right, this is a practical test on the battlefield. Do you think it's like playing house in your small town's awakening test? Okay, don't say so much. It's none of our business if people die. These students from Shaanxi High School kept talking to each other, and soon left everyone. Damn it, why do you think we are going to die? Huang Xing was unconvinced and couldn't help shouting. Guo Qihong on the side shook his head. What they said is actually right. Free movement is very dangerous. You know, you choose to move freely without scouts, complete logistics, and no experience. Isn't it dangerous? Seeking truth from facts, free movement is dangerous and requires strong strength to support it. Old Zhang, just follow me to the regular army. You are very strong, but this is no joke. Huang Xing patted Zhang Tian and persuaded him to come with him. If my uncle hadn't seriously told me that I was not allowed to act with you and had to join the regular army, I would have promised to accompany you. Zhang Tian shook his head and patted Huang Xing's shoulder, asking him to listen to Huang Hui's words. Okay, I know what's going on. In fact, Huang Wei had already sent him a message in advance, telling him why he didn't want Huang Xing to follow him. To put it simply, Huang Xing is not worthy. His strength is too weak. Even with the help of someone as strong as Zhang Tian, the help will be limited. Even if you can get good grades, it's not realistic. Following Zhang Tian to get a grade that doesn't belong to him will only harm him for the rest of his life. It's better to let Huang Xing join the regular army, take the exam normally, and perform normally. In this way, he can benefit for a lifetime. Otherwise, if you follow Zhang Tian and get 2 good grades and go to a top martial arts university, you will be eliminated. The experience and process of the exam itself are more important than the results. Zhang Tian had made up his mind and Huang Xing said nothing more. Since the brother has confidence in himself, he can only support it. All he can do now is wish him all the best. By the way, I've prepared some food for you. Zhang Tian suddenly remembered something and took out the vacuum package from the space ring. He had prepared this in advance. It contains some braised pig head meat, braised pig trotters, etc. After taking it out, he stuffed it into Huang Xing's backpack. The food you make yourself is very effective. It can nourish your body and help improve your strength. It can also restore your blood and energy, and it also makes you feel full. After all, he is his good brother, so he needs this little help. And Mr. Guo, the bone-cutting knife also helped. This is also my intention. Zhang Tian also took out some vacuum-packed food. Although the number was not as large as Huang Xing's, there were still 10 packages. Guo Qihong immediately took the food and looked at Zhang Tian curiously. You actually have a space ring. I helped with the awakening assessment, a gift from classmate Shui. Zhang Tian replied. Guo Qihong immediately widened his eyes, glanced at Zhang Tian, then looked at Shui Ruyan, looked back and forth several times, and couldn't help but said, Classmate Shui, do you have a rich girlfriend? I also want to eat soft rice. Zhang Tian. Shui Ruyan coughed awkwardly. Classmate, please don't talk nonsense. When she finished speaking, Huang Xing immediately handed her over. Boss Shui, stop hiding it and introduce your rich girlfriend to her. I have a weak stomach and can only eat soft rice. These two people simply couldn't get along with being a soft-boiled person. Don't talk nonsense. What do you mean by eating soft food? Zhang Tian put his arms around their necks and retorted angrily. Huang Xing and Guo Qihong immediately tried to struggle, and their energy even exploded. It's a pity that Zhang Tian didn't even use his blood, so he relied on the domineering power of his body to suppress the two of them. Even when it was their turn to go through the space-time gate, Zhang Tian held their heads and dragged them through. After passing through the time and space gate, the intensity of spiritual energy has not increased much. After all, the rich spiritual energy in Wotang's small world is constantly pouring into the Shaanxi area through the time and space gate. The time and space gate brought disaster, but it also brought transformation. Looking up at the sky, the sun is clearly shining high, but behind the blue sky, there are still stars looming, which looks a bit weird. The small world of Wotang is obviously a world, but it is called the Starry Sky Road. This is the reason why. The red world is the big world and the main world. But there is no time and space gate that directly connects the human world and the red realm. There are small worlds under the jurisdiction of the red realm separated from each other. These small worlds are like the roads connecting the time and space gates between the red world and the human world. And these small worlds are also the main battlefields for battles between humans and aliens. Names such as the Avenue of War in the Starry Sky, the Road of War, and the Starry Sky Road are also derived from this. Old Zhang, your strength is so abnormal. After passing through the space-time gate, Huangxing rubbed his red neck and sighed with emotion. I can probably understand how powerless Bai Zunren was when he was slapped unconscious. Guo Qihong also coughed twice and muttered. It's too domineering. Old Zhang, let's go first. Huangxing greeted Zhang Tian and pointed in another direction, be careful. Guo Qihong also waved to Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan, and followed Huangxing away. Yeah, Zhang Tian nodded and watched Huangxing walk in another direction. Over there are already selected officers stationed at this base waiting for them. Students who take the exam to join the regular army or choose to go to the logistics department must go through preliminary assessments. On the projection screen in the sky, the specific situation was clearly explained. There are a total of 10 brigades ahead, each with a different style and intensity level. It is not that simple to follow the regular army, but you need to pass the opponent's assessment. A stronger team will naturally have better commanders, stronger comrades, richer experience, and tasks with higher military merit. Again, these teams are very demanding. The assessment of the martial arts college entrance examination will be more detailed than the candidates imagined, and the measurement standards will be various. The vast majority of students choose to go to different teams of the regular army to take assessments, and are very cautious when facing the martial arts college entrance examination. Many people carefully read the contents of the projection screen and determined their final choice. Only some strong people will choose to take free actions. The choice of the direction of free movement is the other exits from the base. Free movement is not absolute freedom. People who choose this method of action need to read the rules in this regard. For example, when encountering regular military operations, what should be done so as not to be a hindrance? There are also bright red warnings. Free movement can win more battle achievements, but also has a very high mortality rate. There is also a projected tactical map on the side for a rough reference before departure. In addition, you also need to receive a special tactical mobile phone with relatively simple functions, namely positioning and map guidance. At the registration office of the free movement exit, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan became the focus. Just the two of you working together as a team to move around freely. The registered examiner frowned and looked at the two people in front of him. Then he looked down at their exam information and frowned even more. He was actually a candidate from Yu City, not Shang City. You are looking for death. This is irresponsible for life. The examiner immediately scolded seriously. I think the top students from the 4 major universities in the city always work in teams of at least 10 people, but there are only 2 of you. The examiner's voice was loud and fierce, attracting the attention of many people around him. Among them are students from the 4 major universities, as well as people from some high schools in the city who choose to move freely. Lang Hao, who was also registering, also glanced in the direction of Zhang Tian and the others. Brother Lang, you're from a small city and you still don't know much about it. How can you be so arrogant? A student who was following him couldn't help laughing. The other person also nodded. In my opinion, they should go back in despair, right? It's hard to say. The person next to him shrugged. What if I don't listen to my advice? Thank you for the examiner's kindness, but we have decided to move freely, and we have known about it in advance, so we are well aware of it. Zhang Tian looked at the examiner and said seriously. Shui Ruyan on the side also nodded. Examiner, we are fully prepared and we will bear all the consequences ourselves. Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan did not blame the examiner for his bad attitude. He was also kind-hearted and was afraid that they would lose their lives because of their recklessness. To put it bluntly, their life and death had nothing to do with each other. He could just act according to the rules and not say a word about it. Hey, the examiner also sighed. Seeing that Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan had made up their minds, they could only follow the procedures. On the side, Lang Hao, who was leading the team, shook his head and led his team members out of the exit. There were also some candidates with good spirits, who also gathered in large numbers and lined up. Seeing that Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan were still stubborn and did not listen to advice, they both curled their lips. You are a reckless man, you are so brave. The martial arts college entrance examination was restructured and returned to the policy of practical examinations. Didn't these two people check the past examination materials? Even those candidates in the past, even if they were ruthless, they would gather several people to form a team and look after each other when they were free to move. Two people walked together, tut-tut. How about a honeymoon as a young couple? Although many people felt it was outrageous and were not optimistic about Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan, most of them whispered to themselves or thought about it in their minds. There is no need for stupid people to talk too much and ridicule. They still need to be energetic and work hard to earn more military merit and improve their performance. After the registration was completed, the examiner also sighed and watched the backs of Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan disappear at the exit gate. I hope these two children realize that something is wrong and come back in time. The examiner muttered and continued to greet the next group of students. Time passed slowly, and the space-time gate outpost in the small world of Wotang gradually calmed down due to the excitement of the students. The vast majority of students have already passed the exam and entered the regular army of their choice, undergoing simple training to prepare for battle in advance. Some students who have awakened the auxiliary profession also joined the logistics force and became familiar with using their professional characteristics to refine elixirs, maintain weapons, etc. As for the students who move freely, from this time on, their progress has begun to be ahead of the students who joined the regular army. They have entered the Wotang small world area outside the base, walking on this boundary called Starry Sky Road and War Avenue, hoping to search for aliens and kill them. However, these students did not know that every move they and others made had actually entered the eyes of the examiners of the examination team. Why do we need to arrange it so long in advance? That's because Wotang Little World's actual martial arts college entrance examination has a defined examination scope. Within this range, monitoring equipment that combines human technology with weapon refining techniques has been deployed in advance, taking advantage of the magic of the formation. The crystallization of human wisdom can also bloom in a foreign world with a unique style. All members of the examination team were in the large temporary control room set up for the examination. Projections appeared on it, showing the conditions of various boundaries within the examination range. This is actually the implicit rule of the exam. Military merit is not the only thing, it also depends on your performance on the battlefield. Comprehensive consideration is the final result. Who are you more optimistic about this time to come out on top and win first place in the southern province? Among them, a middle-aged member of the examination team spoke with a smile and started the conversation. In my opinion, Lang Hao has the greatest hope. First of all, he has the strongest hard power and acts very smartly. Yes, he obviously did a lot of homework in advance. He actually thought of leading people to crouch along the route where the enemy scouts might appear to ambush him, and waited patiently. On the contrary, I am optimistic about Gan Tian. The exam has just begun, and the team he leads has already made some achievements. He was just a blind cat that met a dead mouse. He just happened to bump into the collection team. He can't be considered a foreign warrior. In the huge monitoring room, everyone talked about their favorite objects. The vast majority chose Lang Hao, Deng Jun, Yuan Liwan and Gan Tian, who were leaders from the 4 major universities. These 4 people are powerful in their own right, and the teammates they bring are also the best in their respective high schools. They can move freely, so they will be far ahead of the regular military students. At this time, a soldier wearing a combat uniform of the Soaring Dragon Army entered the monitoring room after reporting and approached Shui Xiao to report something. What? Shui Xiao couldn't hold it back and exclaimed, causing everyone to look over. Huang Wei beside him also turned his head and looked over. Commander, what should I do? The soldier asked in a low voice. Shui Xiao looked ugly and clenched her hands involuntarily. No matter what, go back to your post. Yes, The soldier left, leaving Shui Xiao to turn around and search for a figure on the projection screen with an ugly expression. Sure enough, she quickly found the figures of her niece and Zhang Tian on a projection screen. Is this girl crazy? Shui Xiao couldn't help roaring in her heart. She knew that Shui Ruyan had obsessions, and sometimes it gave her a headache when she was stubborn. But most of the time, she is very sensible and understands propriety and scale. Why did I make such a choice at this time? The two of them can move around freely, and they also bring Zhang Tian with them. You are not only killing yourself, you are also killing Zhang Tian for no reason. Deputy Team Leader Huang, don't you have someone you like? At this time, the middle-aged man who was the first to start the conversation asked with a smile. Hiss. Huang Wei took a puff of his cigar and grinned, I have someone I like, but you don't know him. Oh, a member of another examination group next to him was a little curious, is there a dark horse? That's right, my nephew's good brother, named Zhang Tian, is taking our team leader's niece into action. As he spoke, Huang Wei pursed his lips and gestured to a projection screen above. On the screen over there, two young men and women are appearing, walking in the small world of fire soup. When everyone heard this, they all looked at Shui Xiao. Shui Xiao, on the other hand, looked at Huang Wei. The meaning in her eyes was clear, are you okay? Huang Wei actually thought it was possible for Zhang Tian to win the provincial championship. His own niece may lose her own life because of her self-righteousness, and even kill Zhang Tian. As a result, Huang Weizheng was bragging. Just two people, the team leader's niece is a bit brave. A team member coughed twice in embarrassment. A talented person is brave. After all, she is the niece of the team leader. She must have special skills. That's right, judging from the way they move, they are quite cautious. Everyone said nice things, but everyone knew it very well. The two of them acting like this are no different from seeking death. Got any special skills? Leaders from the 4 major universities with such talent and strength must form groups. Very cautious. When Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan were walking in the picture, they just looked left and right, but they were still walking on the road. On the contrary, other students who were moving freely formed formations, trying to hide their bodies as much as possible, and divided into 2 groups, light and dark, to slowly explore the way. But after all, she is Shui Xiao's niece, so everyone can only say nice things to coax her. At the same time, everyone was even more confused. Huang Wei would actually like such a reckless combination. Could it be that there is something special about Zhang Tian? Seeing everyone's confused looks, especially Shui Xiao's look, Huang Wei just laughed secretly in his heart. The teacher ordered that after the martial arts college entrance examination begins, Zhang Tian can show off his talents and show some abilities. He wanted to hide Zhang Tian's terrifying talent and avoid premature death and the tragedy of a fallen genius. It was necessary to create an exquisite lie to cover up Zhang Tian and protect him. To make a lie subtle, most of it must be true, and only the most critical parts must be told lies. The truth that Zhang Tian needs to show is that he is extremely talented and a powerful genius. Tell a lie, don't let anyone find out that he is the ultimate invincible pervert. Something's going to happen. Suddenly, someone spoke. At the same time, on many projection screens, the side that showed the figures of Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan began to enlarge. This is because the monitoring array senses the fluctuations of spiritual energy, predicts that there may be a battle, and automatically enlarges the monitoring screen so that the people in the examination group can observe more carefully. Shui Xiao, who was originally going to ask Huang Wei, clenched her hands and her heart tightened. Her selfishness made her want to go out in person immediately and save her niece, but her duty made her stand still. Huang Wei, on the other hand, was very relaxed. He looked at the projection screen silently and thought to himself, show your style, the future master chef. Let these aliens feel the terror of facing a chef. On the screen, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan were originally walking by a steaming pool. The name Wotang Small World comes from the fact that this small world has less land and is extremely rich in water resources. There are ponds and rivers all over the place, but the water is very hot and scalding. If ordinary people fall into it, they will lose their skin even if they die. Wow, wow, wow. A strange cry sounded, and 2 figures suddenly emerged from the boiling water. They were flaming red frogmen that were half a person tall. Their bulging bodies looked cute, but the forks they held in their hands were not easy to mess with. The Fire Frog Tribe, one of the alien races living in the small world of Wotang, is an alien race with certain wisdom and has a very low status. They belong to the category of coolies and cannon fodder in the small world of Wotang. But the ferocity of the alien race is that this low-level coolie alien race also has a certain degree of strength. Just from the breath, you can clearly feel that these two fire frogs already have level 1 strength. The moment they rushed out, the hot pool water splashed towards Shui Ruyan. However, facing this surprise attack, Shui Ruyan did not panic. Instead, the blood in her body surged and escaped through the air. The hot pool water that originally splashed seemed to be frozen, and finally spilled back into the pool water. HMPH. Shui Ruyan also snorted coldly, and swept forward with a spear in her hand. Clang, clang, 2 metallic collision sounds were heard, and they met the leader of the Fire Frog clan, who jumped over. The spear in Shui Ruyan's hand was so powerful that it made the long fork in the Fire Frog tribe's hand buzz and shake. At the same time, the fire frogs who jumped up to prepare for the attack were also repelled. It was at this moment that Shui Ruyan was unyielding and stepped forward, thrusting out his spear. This spear is as fast as lightning, and hazy blood spurts out from the spear in the opposite direction, accelerating the speed and power of the spear. Poof! The spear head directly penetrated the body of the Fire Frog clan, making the opponent's wide frog eyes lose their luster and unable to grasp the long fork in his hand. The other Fire Frog tribe was not frightened by the scene in front of them. Instead, it continued to scream and rushed over with a long fork. But Shui Ruyan was not slow either. She turned around, flicked her spear, and smashed the Fire Frog corpse hanging on it towards the charging figure. Caught off guard, the Fire Frog clan was hit by the corpse of his own clan. The momentum of the impact was stopped, and he staggered back 2 steps. It was at this time that Shui Ruyan followed the same pattern and continued to thrust out. One fresh trick, eaten all over the world. This submachine gun penetrated the Fire Frog tribe's head, killing it. Puff, 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 but at this moment, there was sudden movement in the hot pool next to it. There was no moment of mourning for the 2 dead fire frogs. Next to arrive on the battlefield were 3 stronger fire frogs. These 3 fire frogs are also at level 1, but their auras are stronger. They all hold long forks and scream. There was no trace of panic on Shui Ruyan's face. The 2 fire frogs hadn't given her enough fun yet. Monitoring room. Everyone looked at the content on the screen and marveled. Chi refiner. The middle-aged man who spoke first couldn't help but exclaimed. A special profession, a chi refiner with the dual characteristics of warrior and mentalist. Use blood energy to control objects in the air, and can also engage in head-on combat. Coupled with the fighting ability shown, it is incredible. If we talk about combat performance, her performance is not inferior to those 4-seeded players. Maybe even better, she is a chi refiner. Everyone looked at the content on the screen and commented and praised it. It's no wonder that 2 people act together. Shui Ruyan's ability is so amazing. The only problem is why the boy is hiding behind and watching the show. And he's still clapping there, as if he's cheering. What a fuss. Go up and fight, just watch. Although Shui Ruyan's fighting ability is very powerful, these 3 stronger fire frogs are not easy targets to kill. If you can't quickly kill the opponent in a short period of time and end the battle, dragging them behind will alert more fire frogs and form an encirclement posture. By that time, even if the boy takes action, it will be too late. Is this person Huang Hui's favorite person? Shui Xiao also looked at the projection screen in shock. She didn't expect her niece to become so fierce. It doesn't make sense. In her impression, Shui Ruyan belongs to the level next to the Gate of Genius. But now her behavior is simply strange. She knew that Shui Ruyan was not the kind of mindless and impulsive person. She actually had such strength. No wonder she was so confident. Puff 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 puff. But just when she was happy for Shui Ruyan, the situation took a turn for the worse. There was a sound of water breaking one after another, and each fire frog tribe jumped out of the scalding water and landed on the ground with a long fork. After a rough count, there were at least a dozen of them, surrounding Shui Ruyan and Zhang Tian. Oops, it's not good. That boy should have helped earlier. It's been too long. Even if you want to escape now, it's troublesome. The fire frogs jump and pursue them very fast, so it's hard to get away. You're still running away. We're all surrounded, how can you run away? Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.